Recap the recap.
Yeah.
Hello,
Recap
folks.
the recap.
Exactly. This is Recap the Recap, along with Scott Miller and Greg Fink here with the Political Matrix News. We are going to go ahead and, because there's a lot of recaps all over cable news today that need to be kneecapped. So, I mean, pretty much I think this whole world is coming to an end. Chicken Little is on crack.
It is. We are living in interesting times, that's for sure.
We are. It's a scary, scary time if you're a scary, scary kind of person. But if you actually are a regular human being who doesn't work in the workforce of the government world and the government land all the time, you actually work in a real career, like, I want to say they're not real careers, but I mean like construction or sales or something like at a gas station or a fast food joint, which, that's not fun.
I think you mean a career with accountability.
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's the difference between government and private.
Because you and I were just
private ones have accountability. You mess up and you're gone. Yeah. You're late too many days in a row where you're gone.
No call, no.
And I'll tell you something else too. As much as I respect Elon, his little email trick, he could have done that a lot easier by simply looking to see who has government email that has traffic going in and traffic coming out. If they don't have any traffic coming in or out, and we're paying them, they should be fired immediately. That means they're not checking their email.
Exactly.
And if they don't have, which will get you fired in the private sector. And if they have lots coming in but none going out, again, at the very least, let's go let's pick up the phone and ask them a question and say, hey, what's going on?
What's going on? Well, I do know today is March 11th, and it is going to be a wonderful, wonderful week here in Florida, because it looks like DeSantis on the property tax ideas. He is coming up with trying to get rid of property taxes. I do not think that there are any solutions on how to do that without restricting the rest of the government.
Well, I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier, and I don't think that there's a way to do it quickly.
No.
It's, I think that it is a very good idea to get rid of the Florida property tax. But you're going to have to get the money for there will be a certain amount that you can get from cuts to program cuts. But really and truly, Florida for a long time has run pretty lean. Although we are as guilty as anyone about maybe going a little too farther than we have to, just because of the nature of government spending. Elon had a great point today when he said, or I don't know if it was today, it was in an interview with Larry Kudlow, where he said that it's easier. People gripe when you don't pay them. The people that gripe the loudest are the ones, that are gaming the system to begin with. But the ones that you are paying, they don't say a word. And so if you're not supposed to be paying them, they're going to be extra quiet as a mouse. So that's kind of how, how this stuff kind of leans into the system leans into getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because, the squeaky wheel gets the attention. Well, the guys are getting paid for no reason don't want attention. And so they just shut their mouth and keep collecting checks.
Well, I think the whole issue here was eliminating property taxes here in Florida. I mean, yes, it would be great for the property owners. However, the entire, the funding for the local governments is going to be strongly affected, which brings up two different issues. Maybe there should be as much personnel of the local governments, because they're pretty well paid. I mean, or maybe they could afford a pay cut to some degree, or they just need to figure out another way of generating income by increasing taxes on some other part of the Florida life, which I don't think that's going to work at all. I think sales tax, where all the tourists pay everything, is the best option.
Yeah, and actually that's something you and I talked about, is that there's not that much, the county government's, budgets are planned out for years right now. So it's not like if he started during this session and he wanted to change things, he could just snap his fingers and make it happen tomorrow, because
it's not like impact fees are going to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, the counties would go broke in a month.
If somebody told me you should raise impact fees, I'm like, that's
no. You see, this is that whole Democrat theorem where these property owners, and they're all rich people, and they should pay their fair share. They're already paying their fair share in Florida, certainly with property tax.
Mm-hmm.
What the problem is that it all trickles down to, if you're a property owner, the people that are paying rent are paying rent to people who are paying property taxes, and their property taxes are kept artificially high because of property tax. If we got rid of the property tax, we might have to work on some tricks to try to force them to bring those rents down, or like say something like
incentives, like an incentive.
Well, an incentive for sure to say, just to say that you get a bigger tax break if you show a corresponding drop in rents that you're charging. So something like that to kind of that'd be a temporary program for maybe 3 or 4 years, just to kind of force the market to pay attention, go down a little bit, and then it just phase it out. But when sales tax is there, property tax, the only people that pay property tax are the people who live in the county.
Exactly.
The people that pay sales tax is everyone that drives through, stops at a convenience store, rents a hotel. I mean, anything. That means, and Florida's primarily a tourist state.
It is. We got Busch Gardens, Disney World, Universal, MGM, Miami Dolphins, Miami Heat. I mean, Florida Gators, FSU. I mean, Orlando Magic, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, we're very sports-driven, theatrical-driven, tourism state, period. So we have a lot of people coming here. Do what?
Florida's one big entertainment district.
It is. It's one big entertainment party. And so for taxes, I mean, it's really good for the sales tax as well, with majority of the sales tax being generated from people that do not live here. And so that's a good thing. I mean, and so that's I think the idea. And so, I mean, possibly, I actually thought of this idea a couple of days ago, and telling me I was wrong. Maybe if you had a state ID, had one sales tax and an out-state ID.
Nah, that'll be too complicated.
Yeah, because a lot of people actually live here with out-of-state IDs, and so they're going to say, I'm not visiting.
No, that'll put
right.
That will happen organically. That's or not, anyway.
Yeah, it probably would. It would probably be unconstitutional.
Yeah, because one state, as a matter of fact, there's an explicit prohibition in the Constitution that says one state can't treat people outside their state differently than they treat their own citizens. This is the full faith and credit portion of the Constitution.
I'm talking about making money.
I don't care
about money from Florida.
That's fine. As long as we do it constitutionally, that's no problem.
Actually, okay. Well, it gets in the way every now and then. But that's just kidding.
Well, it does get in the way of your brilliant ideas, but the problem is no matter how brilliant your idea is, if you start making exceptions for the brilliant ideas, then you got to make exceptions for the idiotic.
Stupid ideas. I got a lot of them too. Anyway, but yeah. So I mean, it's. I mean, right now, I don't think the stomach is out there for any of the governments to be cut any more deeper than they're already thinking they're cut already. The local government side.
The state government probably not.
I mean, on the county side, because it's going to trickle down to the county and the cities.
Yeah.
So I mean, the state of Florida, I think, are still running a pretty good surplus at this current time.
But the problem is that you and I live in pretty well funded counties.
Yeah.
Right. You go over to like Gulf County or Jackson County or Gilchrist County.
Exactly. Liberty County or Taylor County.
Jackson County. I mean, those guys, if they lose revenue from property taxes, they're going to have a very prompt replacement for it.
Exactly. And so, I mean, so that being said, I don't think that's going to work out. But there is another cut that got brought up today in education. And the WWE lady, Mrs. McMahon, I think. We don't realize that she came from WWE to do the WWE on education. And so for anybody who doesn't realize this, World Wrestling Entertainment, the former CEO is Linda McMahon, who is now in charge of the Department of Education. Her husband, Jim McMahon or John McMahon, was it Jim or?
I don't know. Jim McMahon was a quarterback, but that may also have been the name of the former president. I was never a wrestling guy. I know it was the McMahon family that was kind of involved in it, and I can see the guy's face clear as day.
Yeah, and so they're the founders of it.
Jam.
Yeah, they're the founders of it. So, I mean, they're bringing the whole wrestling moves here to Department of Education. Over half the staff of the DOE will be laid off by March 21st. 600 people so far as of this recording have accepted a buyout, and that is roughly, let's see here, how many people is that going to be? I think just over 2,000 people. 2,183 workers. And that's a good start. The
sad thing is the ones that are taking the buyout are the ones that are competent enough to get another job.
Probably. But the good thing is another programs are going to be touched. So which actually goes along with what Scott and I have been talking about for the last year or so, is that we have all these bloated bureaucracies. But people are thinking that if the people go, the programs go. They say, no. The money follows the kids. That's the way education works. It's got to follow them all the way to the state, into the county level, into the city level, into the charter level. If it was a charter school.
Let me tell you what the biggest problem that Elon and his little cadre of Doziers is having, and that's that a lot of the computer, a lot of the computer technology that is in common use in our government was obsolete before these kids were born.
They were dial-up, probably.
Yeah, it was only a few years ago that I was helping my father-in-law, who owned an assisted living facility, and I was helping him submit Medicaid claims. You had to do it through a dial-up modem. There was no other way to do it.
A lot of these offices are still ran on 95 NT in Windows 98. I mean,
Microsoft doesn't support. Microsoft hasn't supported Windows NT since 2000. It was deprecated, left out of service in 2000.
It might be in the new 2000 NT then. But I mean, the whole point is that the computers are that old in the education department, and I mean, they're using fossils. I actually went by one school about 6 months ago, and they still had the old Apple IIs.
Think about it like this.
Seriously, guys, come on.
Think about it like this. For every Department of Education person that you fire, every low-end person that you fire from the Department of Education, you can buy 10 computers for the department that are modern computers with modern software that makes things happen quickly, so that even fewer people are required to run the department.
Just like that. I mean,
that's what I thought was so stupid about the damn Social Security. That if you fire half the Social Security people, then how are they going to get the benefits processed in time? Well, maybe by having a modern data processing system might be a good start.
Yeah,
you can do it a fraction of the time.
If somebody with a good brain and a good motherboard and a good set of keys, everything else can make a world of a difference to making efficiency increase, which I think Doge is talking about is increasing efficiency. That's the entire idea, guys.
That's the E
government
part of Doge.
Efficiency. And then you have everybody here. I mean, poor Elon Musk. I mean, we got everybody trying to kill him and assassination attempts on him, burning up, his battery chargers all over the country in different locations. People threatening to blow different locations of his manufacturing plants. People don't realize that the Tesla, I just heard this yesterday, the Tesla actually is the most USA-made car there is. I mean, almost everything is 100% is made in the USA. And
if they can source it here, they use it from here.
Guys, stop. I mean, all you liberal Democrat morons out there who are not realizing where your freedom is. This is where your freedom is. I mean, it's in ingenuity. It's in what Elon is trying to help you with. He's actually trying to help you guys. So get off of it.
Well, here's the fun part. Most of these Elon Musk protests are being funded by Act Blue.
Yeah, they're all being funded because I don't even know if you guys even know how to spell Elon.
No.
I'm sure they don't know how to spell Musk. They're probably spelling MUSKE or MUSCH.
But it doesn't matter. It's all about fundraising, and
exactly.
These guys are threatening. We're like a broken record, I know,
yes.
But he is Trump and Musk are really impacting these guys' fundraising ability. Stacey Abrams left when she finally got out of office. The very first thing she did was spin up an NGO that promptly got a $1.7 billion.
Yes, ridiculous. To see if good utility appliances can work in the low-income areas. Of course, they're going to work in the low-income areas.
Well, the really stupid part about this whole thing is that they're, look, I'm a builder, and she thinks that they're trying to pretend that just replacing your appliances are going to make you more energy efficient. The reality is that until you get these houses well insulated, and houses that were built 30 and 40 years ago are not well insulated unless someone has actually gone in and done it. They are not well insulated, and I don't care how efficient your appliances are. You're going to have a problem with that. You're going to have high power bills. When I build apartments during construction, average bill, and listen, my workers are not responsible. They leave the doors wide open, the windows wide open, air conditioning blasted 100 miles an hour. But when you have the entire structure up to modern building codes, and you have modern and the appliances are important. The average bill for me when it's being ruined like that is $75 a month, $60 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much. And this is Florida, dude.
I mean, the whole idea from when I saw the interview with Stacey Abrams, she was actually excited that the appliances work.
Hey.
I mean, and then now because they worked in those communities, they can take them to other communities and they might work. Okay, who's going to turn down new smart appliances? I mean, what kind of moron is this? I mean, granted.
As usual, they don't tell you the whole story.
No, they don't.
Where did they replace these things? Because if you replace them in a nice building like mine is, that may be 20 years old when there actually was decent insulation happening, then yeah, you can get a pretty significant drop. But the vast majority of these things, new appliances aren't going to help. Getting some insulation in, putting some flashing around the windows, sealing up the doors and stuff so the windows and doors aren't leaking as fast as you can put it out. Yeah, that stuff's not going to happen with those crappy insures. And it's the air conditioners that are the efficient part of my units.
Exactly. And so, I mean, it's projects like this, and then it's kind of interesting how it's all gotten hushed up pretty quickly. Everything else with USAID, since I think it came out that USAID was a front for the CIA. The CIA is kind of telling everybody, hey, quit talking. Because, I mean, there's actual reasons why they do weird stuff. And there's actually a science to, I mean, I was talking to a former CIA agent last week. He said the reason why they're doing like transsexual stuff in areas which are hating transsexuals is because they want to disrupt it. They're trying to disrupt the community. It's not that they're trying to play into that narrative of the trans movement. They're trying to use the trans movement to disrupt the community so they can insert somebody to go ahead and scope out what's going on. And they use that as an opening. Because one thing that those communities do thrive on, the CIA thrives on, is creating chaos. So when they create chaos, they can insert people to go ahead and find out really what's going on. And that's what a lot of these things, which if you look at it on the surface, you think it's why the hell they're doing it. You look at it from a CIA point of view, that's the reason why nobody's talking about it anymore. That's the reason why it got pretty quiet very quickly.
And I see the value of doing stuff like that. The problem is that just how effective it is. That's what the problem is. It isn't even that they were doing it. It was that there's no judgment as to whether it's working or not. It's just throwing money out of there as fast as you can reach into the bag.
And that's exactly how the CIA used a lot of their USAID money.
Absolutely.
And that's how America worked. I mean, they were working on, again, the drug deals and gun deals with the Viet Cong and the Vietnamese during the Korean War and the Vietnam War, and the North Koreans during the Korean War, they did that as well. There is a lot of use of that money without allocation of where it's really going on purpose, which is not really a good way to run a country. Okay, for that point in time, but we're 60 years later now. Let's figure out a better way to do it.
Yeah, the Cold War is over.
It is.
And honestly, a lot of that chaos stuff was really made so that we could interrupt our adversaries, like Russia or whomever.
Right.
And so that was why they did that. Yeah. But those days are gone now. And if you don't force our clandestine services to innovate, they're not gonna.
No, they're not. Do you hear today about Zelensky? He decided to sign the 30-day ceasefire. That's time for Russia to step up to the plate.
Well, the thing is that Trump did the right thing, I think, in making Ukraine painfully aware they do not have a blank check. And then when Russia started attacking him because they thought, oh wow, Putin thought, oh wow, the United States is on my side now, so I can go do what I want.
No.
No, you can't, because so that he starts attacking them, and all of a sudden Trump's like, oh, well, no, we can start turning the spots on just as fast as we can. So that, I think, is a lot of what's driving this. Driving this,
because now you got Zelensky. He's the first one to the table.
All of a sudden, I still maintain that both of those countries at this point are up for an economic or demographic collapse, which will trigger an economic collapse.
Well, I mean, one thing we had already talked about specifically recently, but we did at the very beginning of our show a couple 100 episodes ago, was that most of the stuff with Ukraine there's people who are leaving Ukraine, and they were saying, I mean, the people that are sticking around were the fighters. Everybody else who's not fighting has already left, or a great number of them.
All the women who weren't fighting.
And children.
Women and children and elderly to a certain extent.
Yeah.
As far as elderly men. If you were a man, though, you can't leave.
No. And so, I mean, that being said, I mean, there's not really much to, I mean, you have a lot to rebuild. There's not a lot to come back to as far as, your societal stuff goes. In fact, the person who's in charge of the opposition party to Zelensky, I think his name was coincidentally Olinsky or something close to that. Anyway, he was saying that, right now to have elections is nearly impossible, A, because most of the people don't live there right now, and B, I mean, everything's rubble. I mean, right now, Ukraine looks just like Gaza does, and so it's a horrible rubble mess.
How are you going to have an honest election there when you don't have the infrastructure to validate the ballots that are coming in?
No, yeah, and also you have no freedom rate to campaign either.
Okay, the honest to God truth is, I don't give a shit about Vladimir Zelensky or Ukraine or anything going on over there. Nobody we can talk about this, honestly, nobody in America really, really, really cares about Ukraine. Ukraine is a pawn in this game between the liberals and the conservatives and all the little whack jobs that think that they're foot soldiers for either party. And they don't want Ukraine. Well, it's not they don't want, they just don't care. And it's not a proxy war. What's Russia going to do? How is Russia going to come take over us? Russia has a smaller economy than the state of New York. They have a smaller economy than the city of New York. And everyone's still looking at them like they're the big bad wolf from, or big bad bear, I guess, from the 80s in the Cold War. And they are a shadow of their former self.
Exactly. It's terrible. I mean, the whole idea that, it's a media created war. I mean, the whole thing has been created by the media, period, to go ahead and create a good side and a bad side and to assign Trump to Russia. The entire war just to assign Trump to Russia.
Well, I mean, the Democrats are using it as, Trump, a way to get back at Trump, and the Republicans are using it as a way to call the Democrats, wasteful spenders. And at the end of the day, there isn't a lot of difference between Zelensky and Putin. The real difference between them is funding.
Exactly.
Putin has got a lot more money, and that's the only difference. If Zelensky had the same amount of money that Putin did, that place, they would be the bad guy.
I agree. Well, let's switch topics here to the economy.
Let's talk about the economy.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think about the movement of the stock market here the last 3 days?
Well, I mean, but between, activist stock people like Blackwater, who, although Blackwater is starting to come around now a little bit, but only because they are, they're in it for the money. And then Blackwater is going to be on the side of whoever they think they can control the most.
Is it Blackwater or BlackRock?
Oh, it's BlackRock. Blackwater. That's sorry. Yes, that's I'm thinking of the river down there right next to me. BlackRock.
Okay.
Yes, BlackRock. Yeah, BlackRock is, they don't care. They don't care who's in power, as long as it's someone they can control. And they are currently realigning themselves and realigning their portfolios because they know that there's going to be a dip. And then, and the dip that we're seeing, and then as soon as a couple of things happen, they're going to buy this thing on the cheap and then just make even more money. BlackRock is probably going to make more money than they ever did under Biden. And that's the only reason that, frankly, honestly, I think that's the reason that they're not going after Trump. And by that, I mean, they're not going after him with pew-pew things, because they would run him out of office if they could, or they would extract him from office, with a man on the, one of the two guys that already tried to assassinate Trump.
Yeah, I mean, actually, they had another plane go over Mar-a-Lago last night. This is the 20th plane that has gone inside the airspace of Mar-a-Lago in the last 3 weeks. Guys, this is different than this is a lot different than it used to be. I mean, the violence that they're attempting against Elon, they're doing against Trump, and between all the protests to Colombia and the schools and everything else, the angst of the left at this point in time is very high.
Let me tell you what these guys really don't realize, and that's that they are one dead body away, one person, one collateral damage, one person who accidentally gets killed in one of these idiotic little, Tesla protests or whatever. And all of a sudden, now the federal government will have a case to go all the way down to everyone that's ever donated to Act Blue for supporting this stuff. It'll be maybe not the guys donated $50 or stuff like that. The George Soroses and people like that. All of a sudden, now we have a federal case, and we can start actually investigating them, and they may or may not find direct information that they've done stuff, or that they were actually trying to incite this death or violence. But number one, you don't have to. The right hand doesn't have to know what the left hand is doing in a conspiracy for everyone to be guilty of murder, and they will take that position if they keep pushing this. And we're just. I'm going to sit around and just eat popcorn and watch, because man, it's going to be that way.
From a political point of view, from what we do as strategists and everything else, I mean, the biggest issue that we're seeing here is that, I mean, the communication coming out of the White House and out of Trump is everything for the people, and it's for progressing the future of everybody. He's not picking winners or losers. He's picking everybody. However, on the left side, they're picking winners and losers, definitely. And they're playing with, and like you said, they're playing with very high stakes here of something accidentally happening, and it can go really bad really quick. I mean, you look at the stock market right now. I mean, in the stock side, I mean, they're actually reacting the same way, and it's a free capitalist system and a free enterprise. I mean, it's blowing up, but it's also blowing up in a way where it needs to be corrected from what a lot of people were saying. That the market was going so fast at such a high level that it needed to correct itself to where it could correct itself without crashing all the way. And so right now, we still got 1,000 points, and we still have a mindset that 1,000-point drop is a huge drop, where like 15 or 20 years ago it would have been. But right now it's like 2% of the market, and so 15 or 20% of the market.
Well, we have almost completely recovered from COVID to the point where we are on the trajectory, where we would have been on the trajectory we were on in COVID. So like,
right,
we were on a trajectory like here, and then we took a big dive. Well, now we were on a trajectory to go here. We took a dive, but now we're still going up, and we're still going to hit that mark.
Right.
So, if we lose a little bit, it's unfortunate, but it's not devastating. The real benefit we're going to have from all of this, and I honestly believe Elon when he says that we're going to get $1 trillion cut out of this budget.
Oh yeah.
Because if we cut $1 trillion out of it, then that means in what? I guess it's a $30 trillion deficit. Just a straight math would say that we'd be, that in 30 years, we'd be completely even. But the reality is the more you pay that debt off, the less you're paying interest, the more you got to apply towards the debt. So it doesn't take 30 years. It really takes more like 10.
Right. And like tonight, the House approved the bill. It was not a CR. It was not kicking a can down the road. It's a miracle.
It was
exactly, which is very good.
That's what Trump ran on, and for me, the most entertaining thing of this whole thing is watching the Democrats just implode and double down on it. Everyone inside their party, outside their party, the whole world is screaming at them to stop doubling down on things that only 20% of the country supports, but they just can't do it. The reason is because, see, this is back to my original thesis, my prevalent thesis. The reason they keep doing it is because their personal fundraising is going through the roof still. So, maybe only 20% of the country agrees with it, but the 20% that does is well-financed, and they're writing checks like there's no tomorrow.
Exactly. There are several congressional races, which I can't talk about because I've already talked to them about, and, being confidential about their fundraising. But there are a lot of races who are off the radar that are still raising a lot of money. And a lot more money than is normal in those type of races, because these are Democrats running in conservative areas, and they're still raising money hand over fists for some reason. And it's great that they're raising the money. It's great they're getting their messaging out. However, it goes back to the point that although the Democrat messaging is against 80% of the country, the fundraising team, which is basically, the people who are still donating, they're still buying everything hook, line, and sinker. And their fundraising is going through the roof. And, it's very bizarre. It's very weird because it's not normal that you hear or that you see so many people against the ideology, yet they're still raising money. Usually it takes, and that's how hard they're working. That's how hard they're working that money train. And once that goes, they got nothing. And that's what they're terrified of. That's what they're terrified of.
It really is make as much as you can while you can, because they can see the gravy train coming to an end. And they're not even going to have the thing that, Stacey Abrams got that $1.7 billion. And actually, I think it was more than that because I heard a different number.
So, yeah.
I heard a number was around $4 billion.
That's a different program.
So what I'm saying is that the reason that it's, that was clearly a payout. All right. They had to make a deal with her. And the reason that she got that money was because she had done exactly what the Democrats had asked them to do, and she's got the proof of it. So they had to follow through with giving her this money, or she'd start just squawking to the world because she was ready to do her thing, and now she's not going to be able to. So she wants some sort of compensation, and this is it.
I think that was a different program. She got two different programs. One was $2 billion, and one was, I think, $3 or $4 billion. Because the last one, the $2 billion one, which is the most recent one that came out, she wasn't really the director of the NGO. She was a consultant for the NGO. And so as a consultant, they got the $2 billion. But the other one, you're correct, it was actually two different programs that she got money on.
Well, you remember when Joe Biden said he was going to run high-speed internet out to rural areas, and he appropriated $40 billion to do it? And the very first thing that they did was say that Elon Musk can't. Well, even though we initially approved him to be a provider, now he can't. Yeah. And then since that day, they have not hooked up a single person under that program. That's the sort of thing you got to look at for Stacey Abrams. Will they do enough to be able to send out? Let's say it a different way. They will hook up enough appliances to send out regular social media posts of this sympathetic grandma or this parent of disabled children or whatever. They'll do just enough of those so they get their media moments, but not really enough to justify $1.7 billion. I love to go back to that sales tax that we derailed a long time ago. That was supposed to help for. You tell the story about that.
Well, yes, it was back in 2006 in Escambia County, Florida. They were going to do a half-cent increase on sales tax, which would have made the sales tax in Escambia County 8%, which would have been by far then the highest sales tax in the state of Florida. And they were going to use that for indigent care. However, the people that were qualified for it were non-existent. Well, they were existent. There were 300 people in the county that would qualify for that type of care. But it also generated, I think, around $290 million a year. And so,
what were the administrative costs like?
It was a 7-year contract. Mm-hmm. It was a 7-year bill. So it would have created over $1 billion for administrative costs and for consulting fees, and more or less for referral fees. There's not going to be any building. There's going to be 6 or 7 administrators, and there's going to be 2 or 3 nurses on standby to refer patients to different hospitals or different places for care. But all the sales tax revenue would just be created to refer these patients to different places. What are they going to pay for their care? There's no building, there are no doctors, there's no nursing care actually being done, and they're just more or less going to pay for referral fees and consulting fees of people who are well versed in the medical industry to send them to their places where they thought they would be best and well served, which is a great, wonderful idea. However, it's going to cost a lot of money.
It sounds like a wonderful idea.
It sounds good, but only 500 people would qualify for it. Actually, 392 people qualified for it in Escambia County at the time. After the election, they brought in a few more people, and so it was up to 500 people after the election that would have qualified for it. But they raised around, I think, $600,000, and we had $4,000. 4.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4. And we ended up with 69% of the vote. And, we did a lot of messaging. We did a lot of radio calls. We had a very good live talk show. We had 2 talk shows in the area for our radio. And we did some radio commercials, and we were able to get off some TV commercials and one direct piece mailer targeted to people in the nursing homes and people and elderly people to let them know that basically their kids were being robbed. And so, it was a very interesting campaign, and we had a lot of people hate us, a lot of people try to threaten to kill me. I got shot at twice. I had several people threaten me and say I would never work in this town again, like a Jimmy Buffett song. And you know, I got my. But the thing is, taxpayers did not deserve that. It was a
No.
7-year contract.
Well, think about it like this. They were spending basically $2 million per homeless person. And again, like you said, not to care for them, simply to send them somewhere where they could get care.
Yeah, it's supposed to be health care for indigent care. However, it was no health. It was zero health care for indigent individuals. And it would have been one thing if it was actually treating them, but it wasn't that well thought out and that well put together yet. Basically,
For 500 people, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered what they were doing with 500 people.
Yeah, they're basically asking us to give them money and trust them while they build the program, without the program already being built.
Exactly. But
so
yeah, but it's just the way government works. I'll tell you this: far more often than not, the more emotionally endearing the name of a program is, the more likely it is a scam.
Exactly. Scammy Children's Trust. A lot of these children's trust programs, which, scammy. I mean, a lot of them might be good, and I'm sure a lot of them are good. However, whenever you put children's trust in a ballot, first of all, nobody's going to vote against it. Yeah. It's very hard. But then again, scammy is almost 50-50. So, I mean, there are a lot of people who didn't trust children's trusts in scammy account, which I thought was ironic because there's zero opposition to it. And the people who were on the pro side had a lot of money. They were very well funded. And it still only went up by like 1 or 2%.
Yeah.
Because I think people saw the scam like yours.
Yeah, like we've been saying. I mean, there's they've seen this kind of scam come and go over and over and over again.
But actually,
how many times have we seen it?
Yeah, I know. Until I moved over here to Alachua County, I didn't know the children's trust thing. I guess it's a statewide thing. I didn't know that. There's a children's trust over here in Alachua. There's one next door in Columbia County. There's one in Leon County. And so they got these children's trust things where they're raking in all kinds of money for the government.
Yeah. It's a franchise. Okay. It's a franchise. It is a franchise. Yes. All right. And because I guarantee you that if you look at their books, there's at some point they've got to kick upstairs to the guy upstairs a little bit, like the mafia does. You got to kick up a little bit, because, well, they call it a consulting fee, but still.
I have friends who are part of this thing, so I don't want to say that.
Well, I don't know anything about the local one. I stopped paying attention to the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. I could find evidence of them sending children to Jeffrey Epstein, and no one would do anything about it because it's already entrenched. No, I'm just saying. There's no reason to pay attention to it. There's no reason for me to pay attention to it.
Right.
I feel like unless I can find some people that have the political will to actually look at it and force it to be done right. Now, the one up here, maybe the one in Alachua County, they may be run perfect. I don't know. Right. I hadn't looked, but I've got enough experience campaigning on this stuff to know that it is a waste of my time to try to do anything about it without some funding to move the needle forward. And even just some minimal funding. Shoot, somebody keep some bread on my table while I go and find out where the bodies are buried. It'd be nice.
It is kind of what we do for a living.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like I was talking to somebody today. He was asking about a poll. I'm like, he said, "How much do you want to charge for a poll?" I'm like, enough to keep the lights on. Yeah, we got to pay more than that. Like enough to keep the lights and the computer on. So, I mean, the whole idea here is, I mean, we've been doing this for 30 years of peace and everything. We've seen all the bells and whistles. And that's one reason why I think you're right. The little skeletons in the closet for the Ukrainian war. This whole thing is a media-driven war. Well, it's sad. The people died. They kill people.
You have friends that live next to or 4 doors down from Vladimir Zelensky right now.
Exactly, in Miami Beach.
Beach,
which is a fraudulent house, by the way. Everybody says is not true. It never happened. Never bought it.
Never happened. Bullshit.
Yeah, nothing ever happens unless you're there to see it happen.
If I had a nickel, honest to God, if you and I had a nickel for every time we told someone a story and they said that never happened, never happened, and then we come back later. I mean, I'm starting to feel like Donald Trump. I say something happened, someone says it never did, and then I insist it is. That they try to shove me down because of it, and then ultimately I'm proven right.
Yeah, we're like
Again.
we're like poverty-stricken Trumps.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, it's just really weird. I mean, because we live here in Florida, where it's a pretty much a political center of the universe here where we live at. You got
Right now it
DeSantis.
is.
Just saying, well, probably the next 50 years, probably. Because right now, DeSantis is getting his wife to run for governor. He's trying to run for president here in 2028. Byron Donalds now who has a new TV show, or he's doing a lot of TV on Fox Business now. He's running for governor currently. You have the whole story about Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is going, but he's on TV. Where is he gone? He might have come back. Who knows? And then we got, we have, and that's just a governor's seat. That's just one little corner of the table. And then we have 28 million. How many people we got? 28 million people, 26 million?
I think it's pushing 28 million now. It's getting close. We'll see soon.
And we have a very big spring break crowd, but marijuana is not legal. And so it's only medical marijuana. And so, I mean, and recreational marijuana is legal in several more conservative states all across this country. And this state here, not so much, which I think is a good thing. Because believe me, with all the recklessness that we have, with all the tourism we got, having recreational marijuana could be a problem.
Well, I'll say this. Marijuana was everywhere when it was completely illegal.
Exactly.
And now,
it's still everywhere.
I'm friends with a couple of sheriffs who flat straightforward told me that they don't even check for marijuana anymore because for the drug dogs, it smells exactly like the hemp products do, which are 100% legal.
Well, at the same time, you got the state attorney's offices selling that they're not going to prosecute anybody.
Well, that's why the evidence is so problematic. They're going to say that the dog hit on something. Well, let's get the dog on the stand and ask him if he thought it was marijuana, if he thought it was CBD. Well, the dog can't talk. Case dismissed.
Exactly. It's over.
It's over. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll have plenty, there'll be plenty of, let's just call them reggae festivals in Florida during spring break.
I'm sure there are. I think Fort Lauderdale is going out of control right now. I know Panama City's pretty busy. Daytona Beach, I hear it's pretty busy at the moment. Spring break is just cranking up now. And yes, it's almost spring, everybody. Time did change, and we're still going on. But
I can tell it's spring because my allergies are going freaking nuts. Everyone I know is coughing and hacking right now. Spring has sprung.
Spring has sprung for sure. But that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and cut it off a little bit early tonight because I think both of our throats are getting a little bit sore here. Combined with our brain fog from the pollen.
Antihistamines.
Exactly. All the antihistamines are like going crazy in my head right now. You guys have a good evening, and thanks for joining us. Remember to subscribe, like us, share us, do everything you can to help us overcome the algorithm, which a while ago was liberal. It's getting more conservative now, but it's still pushing us a little bit, and so pushing us down a little bit. So we need to overcome that. So please be part of that. We greatly appreciate it. Anything you want to drop in?
No, that was it. Like and subscribe and join us on our next show with the Political Matrix News.
Good night.